The fluorescent lights hum overhead in conference room 3B. I can hear them because nobody's speaking. The VP sits across from me, fingers steepled. His cologne is too strong. Bergamot and arrogance. He slides a single sheet of paper across the laminate table. Delilah, we're reassigning your role. Effective immediately. My coffee has gone cold in my hands. Outside the glass walls, the engineering floor continues. Keyboards clicking. Monitors glowing. Normal Tuesday morning at Rockside Technologies. Mid-sprint? My voice comes out level. He doesn't blink. You're too process-heavy. The team needs agility. The document between us has my name at the top. Delilah Malcolm, Principal DevOps Architect. My current title crossed out. A new one typed below. Junior Implementation Coordinator. 3 levels down. I built the deployment framework they're using right now. So here's my question, what happens when you remove the person who holds the entire system architecture in their head? If you've ever been the person who actually does the work while someone else takes the credit, you know this feeling. That specific hollow sensation when competence becomes a liability. I'm going to walk you through exactly what happened next. Every decision. Every consequence. Because maybe you're dealing with someone right now who thinks process and structure are obstacles instead of foundations. Stay with me. You'll want to see how this plays out. I set the mug down. The small thunk echoes in the silence. Through the glass wall, I can see Kwame at his desk. He's my back-end lead. His shoulders are tense. He knows something's happening. The VP shifts in his chair. We need you to transition your responsibilities to Bryce Sutton over the next 2 days. He'll be taking over as Principal DevOps Architect. Bryce Sutton. 6 months at the company. Came in through a networking connection with the C-suite. Charming in meetings. I've reviewed his commit history. Lots of comments on other people's pull requests. Very few of his own that actually compile. 2 days, I repeat. We're confident you'll make it smooth. The VP stands. Meeting over. He buttons his suit jacket. This is about evolution, Delilah. Companies that don't adapt get left behind. I notice he's wearing new shoes. Expensive Italian leather. Same week the annual performance bonuses were quietly reduced by 40% due to market conditions. Outside, Kwame catches my eye through the glass. His expression asks the question before I even leave the room. The morning light slants through the eastern windows. The building faces the river. I picked this office location specifically because the morning sun doesn't create glare on the monitoring dashboards. Small details. The kind that matter when you're actually running infrastructure instead of just talking about it in board meetings. I walk back to my desk. 27 monitors across 3 standing desks. Each one showing a different service cluster. I built this command center over 3 years. The VP thinks it's excessive. But I can see cascade failures forming 90 seconds before they impact production. I've saved this company from outages he'll never know almost happened. My phone buzzes. Text from Kwame, what's going on? Not yet. I need to think. 3 years ago. Different conference room. Same company, back when it was still called Rockside Engineering before the rebrand to Rockside Technologies. The name change was symbolic. Engineering sounded too technical. Technologies sounded investable. I'm standing at the front of the room with a laptop and a projector that keeps flickering. My hands aren't shaking but I can feel my pulse in my throat. 15 people around the table. Director of Engineering. VP of Product. The entire platform team. I've been here 8 months. I'm about to pitch the architectural overhaul that will either make my career or end it. Our current deployment process has a mean time to production of 47 hours from code complete. We've had 6 rollbacks in the last quarter. Each one costs approximately $18,000 in lost productivity and emergency overtime. The Director of Engineering, Malcolm Fisk, leans forward. He's old school. Came up through actual coding before management. And you think you can fix this? I've mapped the entire pipeline. Next slide. A flow diagram I spent 60 hours building. Every integration point. Every manual approval gate. Every place where work sits in queues because nobody's quite sure who owns the decision. 32 distinct bottlenecks. I have solutions for 29 of them. Silence. Then someone in the back speaks up. This would require changing how everyone works. Yes. That's a political nightmare, the VP of Product says. She's scrolling on her phone. People don't like change. People don't like getting paged at 2 in the morning because a deployment failed. This reduces that by 85% based on the pilot I ran with the authentication service last month. That gets her attention. She looks up. You already tested this? On my own time. With Kwame's help. I click to the results slide. Green everywhere. We went from 12 deployment failures per month to 0. From 2-day rollouts to 4-hour rollouts. And we documented everything so it's repeatable. Malcolm Fisk is actually reading the documentation I printed. He's on page 4. I can see his expression shift. He gets it. He understands what I'm proposing isn't just process for process's sake. It's structural resilience. How long to implement company-wide, he asks. 4 months with proper support. 6 if I have to keep doing it after hours. The VP of Product sets her phone down. That's aggressive. The alternative is we keep bleeding money and burning out the on-call rotation. I meet her eyes. I've talked to every person who's quit in the last 6 months. Want to know the number one reason? Nobody answers. Chaos. They leave because nothing is predictable. They can't plan their lives because they never know when the system will explode. I close the laptop. Process isn't bureaucracy. Process is respect for people's time. Malcolm approved it that afternoon. Gave me a team of 3. Budget for tools. Protection from political pushback. He told me privately, you're going to make enemies. People who like being the hero who fixes fires don't want you preventing the fires. He was right. The implementation took 5 months. 5 months of teaching people that documentation isn't optional. That automated testing saves more time than it costs. That when something breaks at midnight, the person on call should be able to fix it without calling 5 other people. I learned to speak in business value instead of technical correctness. Executives don't care about elegant code. They care about quarterly metrics. So I gave them quarterly metrics. Month 1, deployment success rate up 18%. I presented it with a dollar value attached. $53,000 in avoided overtime and emergency contractor fees. Month 2, customer reported incidents down 22%. I correlated it to customer retention data. Showed the CFO that stable systems meant renewal rates climbed. Month 3, developer satisfaction scores increased. People stopped quitting. Recruitment costs dropped because we weren't constantly backfilling positions. I learned that resistance comes in layers. First layer is open hostility. This is micromanagement. Process kills innovation. I addressed that by showing them the data. Innovative companies have strong processes. SpaceX doesn't wing it. They have checklists. Checklists keep rockets from exploding. Second layer is passive resistance. People who smile in meetings and then don't follow the new workflows. I handled that with dashboards. Made compliance visible. When the entire team sees that one person's shortcuts caused the only outage that month, peer pressure does the work. Third layer is political sabotage. People who go around you to executives. Delilah's being too rigid. We're losing our startup culture. I countered that by making allies. Kwame was first. Then Yolanda in QA. Then the entire platform team after I saved them from a cascading database failure. One by one, I turned skeptics into advocates. By month 5, we had the lowest defect rate in company history. We were shipping features faster than before because we weren't spending half our time firefighting. The metrics spoke for themselves. Malcolm promoted me to principal DevOps architect. I got the team expanded to 8 people. We standardized everything. Deployment pipelines, monitoring, incident response protocols, disaster recovery procedures. I built something. Not just code. A culture. A way of working that protected people. And that's when I became a threat. The new VP arrived month 7 of my tenure as principal. He came from a move fast and break things background. In our first one-on-one, he said, "I don't want to know how the sausage is made. I just want it on my plate faster." I smiled, nodded, and knew immediately we were going to collide. Back to present. I'm sitting at my monitoring station. The VP's paperwork is on my desk. Reassignment effective immediately. Bryce Sutton is my replacement. 2 days to transition everything. My phone buzzes. A Slack notification from the automated monitoring system. The one I built. Warning, configuration drift detected across 47 production services. Automated rollback protocols disabled. Manual intervention required within 72 hours to prevent cascade failure. I stare at the message. Then I check the audit logs. The automated rollback protocols were disabled yesterday. Late afternoon. There's a comment, removing deployment safety checks to accelerate sprint velocity. Per VP directive. They disabled the safety systems. The ones that prevent exactly the kind of cascading failures that cost companies millions. They did it to make deployments look faster on a dashboard somewhere. I open my documentation repository. Nearly 1,200 pages. I've been meticulous about keeping it updated. But looking at the access logs, the documentation hasn't been accessed by anyone except me in the last 4 months. Not even by my team. They just ask me directly because it's faster. All the knowledge is documented. But the documentation is useless if nobody reads it. I pull up the deployment calendar. Major release scheduled for Friday. 3 days from now. Customer-facing features. High visibility. Board-level attention. The release depends on 17 microservices coordinating correctly. Each one has specific configuration requirements. Each one has dependencies that must be satisfied in a specific order. I designed the deployment sequence to handle this. It's automated, but it requires those safety checks they just disabled. Without the safety checks, the deployment will start. Services will come up in the wrong order. Dependencies will fail. And because they disabled the automated rollback, it won't stop. It'll keep trying to push forward even as each service fails. A cascade. By the time anyone realizes what's happening, production will be a smoking crater. I could warn them. Should warn them, ethically. But I'm looking at this reassignment letter. Junior Implementation Coordinator. They're taking everything I built and handing it to someone who doesn't understand it. My desk phone rings. Internal extension. I pick up. Delilah Malcolm. "Hey, it's Bryce." His voice is enthusiastic. Friendly. "Just wanted to touch base about the transition. VP said you're bringing me up to speed on the DevOps architecture?" "That's correct." "Great. Listen, I'm slammed today, but maybe we can do a quick 30-minute download tomorrow? Hit the high points?" 30 minutes. 3 years of architecture in 30 minutes. The documentation is in the repository, I say. I'll send you the link. Perfect. Though between you and me, I'm more of a hands-on learner. I'll probably just dive in and figure it out as I go. That's how I learn best. I close my eyes. Take a breath. The deployment on Friday is complex. You'll want to review the orchestration sequence carefully. Oh, totally. But the VP wants to accelerate our release cadence, so I'm actually going to simplify a lot of this. Strip out some of the overhead. Make it leaner. The overhead is there for a reason. I'm sure it is. His tone shifts. Condescending now. But sometimes when you're deep in something for a long time, you lose perspective. Fresh eyes can see inefficiencies you're too close to notice. I don't respond immediately. On my monitors, I can see system metrics. Everything green. Everything stable. Everything running exactly as designed because I'm watching it. I'll send you the documentation link, I repeat. Awesome. And hey, no hard feelings about the reassignment, right? These things happen. I'm sure you'll do great things in your new role. He hangs up. I sit in the silence. The monitors hum. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead. Then I open my personal encrypted drive and start copying files. Every piece of documentation. Every architectural diagram. Every troubleshooting guide. Every configuration template. I copy it all to my personal storage. Not to take it with me. Just to preserve it. Because I suspect it's about to become very important. That evening, I meet Kwame at the coffee shop 3 blocks from the office. It's the place we always go when we need to talk off the record. He's already there when I arrive, sitting in the back corner with 2 cups. He knows my order. So, he says as I sit down. Want to tell me what happened? I tell him. The reassignment. Bryce. The disabled safety protocols. The Friday deployment. Kwame's expression doesn't change, but his jaw tightens. They disabled the rollback automation? Yesterday. That's insane. Do they understand what happens if Friday's deployment fails without that? I don't think they've thought it through. The VP sees it as removing bottlenecks. Making things faster. It's not a bottleneck. It's a brake pedal. Kwame runs his hand over his head. And Bryce is taking over? He doesn't know the systems. He knows enough to be dangerous. Confident enough to make changes without understanding consequences. Are you going to warn them? I sip the coffee. It's still hot. I already tried. Bryce thinks I'm being territorial. The VP thinks I'm being obstructionist. If I push harder, I'm the problem. So what are you going to do? That's the question. I've been thinking about this since the meeting ended. Option 1, fight the reassignment. Go over the VP's head. Escalate to the CTO or CEO. Problem is, the VP was hired by the CEO. They golf together. I'd be asking someone to overrule their chosen executive based on technical concerns they won't fully understand. Option 2, comply completely. Hand over everything. Document my warnings. Then watch from my new junior role as everything burns. Satisfying in a bitter way, but it hurts people who don't deserve it. The engineers on call. The customers who depend on the systems. Option 3, something more surgical. I'm going to do the transition exactly as requested, I tell Kwame. 2 days. Complete handoff. By the book. He frowns. That's not enough time. I know. But that's what they allocated. I'll document everything I do. Every conversation. Every file I share. Every warning I give. I meet his eyes. And then I'm going to make sure the failure happens in the most visible, undeniable, instructive way possible. Delilah. I'm not sabotaging anything. I'm going to follow my reassignment letter exactly. Transfer responsibilities to Bryce. Answer his questions if he asks. Provide documentation. Then step back and let him execute the Friday deployment using his streamlined approach. People could get hurt. On-call engineers getting paged. Which is why I'm going to have a backup plan ready. Completely off the books. If the cascade starts and nobody stops it within 30 minutes, I'll intervene. I still have admin access until Friday afternoon. I can trigger the rollback manually if needed. Kwame considers this. So you're giving them enough rope. I'm giving them exactly what they asked for. Freedom from process-heavy oversight. Agility. Speed. The ability to move fast without my bureaucratic red tape slowing them down. I finish the coffee. They'll get to see what that actually looks like. And if the VP blames you anyway? He can't. I'll have documentation proving I transitioned everything properly. Showed Bryce where the information was. Warned about the deployment complexity. All in writing. All time-stamped. I stand. The failure won't be mine. It'll be theirs. And it'll be educational. We leave separately. Professional distance. When this goes sideways, I don't want Kwame's career damaged by association. Back home, I start preparing. First, I create a comprehensive transition document. 28 pages. Every system overview. Every critical configuration. Every known issue. Every monitoring dashboard. I include links to the detailed documentation. I make it searchable, indexed, professional. Then I draft an email to Bryce and the VP. Subject line, DevOps Architecture Transition, Critical Information. I attach the transition document. I explicitly call out the Friday deployment as high risk. I list the specific dependencies that must be verified. I offer to be available for questions. I don't send it yet. Timing matters. Next, I create a private monitoring dashboard. One that mirrors the production systems but runs on my personal laptop. It'll let me watch Friday's deployment even after my access is revoked. I configure alerts to my personal phone. If things start cascading, I'll know immediately. Finally, I prepare the emergency rollback procedure. The one I'll use if nobody else stops the failure in time. I write it as a script that can execute with a single command. Test it against the staging environment. Verify it works. Then I store it encrypted on my personal machine. Insurance policy. Wednesday morning, I send the transition email at 9 a.m. CC the VP, Bryce, and Malcolm Fisk. I mark it high importance. Then I schedule the handoff meeting with Bryce for that afternoon. The meeting lasts 45 minutes. Bryce brings his laptop but barely opens it. He's more interested in talking about his vision for modernizing the deployment culture. I walk him through the transition document. Point out the critical sections. He nods along, but I can tell he's not really absorbing it. One thing I want to make absolutely clear, I say, pulling up the deployment calendar. Friday's release has dependencies that must execute in sequence. Services A through D have to be fully operational before services E through K start. If you try to parallelize it to save time, the session management layer will fail and cascade down through the API gateway. Right. He's checking his phone. But that's assuming the current architecture. I'm actually planning to refactor some of this. Simplify the service mesh. Before Friday? Well, initiate the refactoring. Plant the seeds. He looks up, smiling. You've built something solid, Delilah. But solid can also mean rigid. Sometimes you need to be willing to break things to make them better. I don't respond. Just forward him another email with the deployment checklist attached. Thursday, I continue to be perfectly professional. Answer questions when asked. Provide information when requested. I'm helpful, cooperative, and thorough. I'm also watching the commit logs. Bryce has started making changes. Small ones. Configuration tweaks. He's disabling monitoring alerts he considers noisy. He's adjusting timeout values to make services restart faster. Each change individually seems minor. Together, they're removing the safety margins I built into the system. Thursday evening, I get a Slack message from Yolanda in QA. Is it true you're being reassigned? Yes. That's insane. You built everything. Bryce is very capable, I type back. Professional. Neutral. Bryce hasn't run a production deployment in his life. He's going to break everything. The documentation is comprehensive. He'll be fine. There's a long pause. Then, you don't believe that. I don't respond. What I believe doesn't matter anymore. Friday morning arrives cold and clear. I dress carefully. Professional but not formal. I want to look like someone who's at peace with the transition. My new desk is on the 3rd floor. Implementation coordinators don't need monitoring stations. I have a single laptop and a generic desk in an open floor plan. The fluorescent lights flicker more here. Nobody's bothered to replace them. I set up my personal laptop discreetly. The private monitoring dashboard loads. I can see everything. All the production services. All the metrics. The deployment is scheduled to start at 10 a.m. At 9:45, I get an email. From the VP. Thanks for the smooth transition. We're excited about the new direction. At 9:50, Bryce sends a message to the engineering-wide Slack channel. Big deployment going live in 10 minutes. Excited to show everyone what streamlined DevOps looks like. Rocket. Rocket emoji. He used a rocket emoji. I watch my private dashboard. The deployment sequence initiates exactly at 10. Services start spinning up. The first 4 come online normally. They're the simple ones. Stateless. Independent. Service C starts. It's supposed to wait for Service C to complete its database migration. But Bryce modified the dependency checks. Service E doesn't wait. It tries to connect to tables that don't exist yet. Service E fails. Tries to restart. Fails again. The automated retry logic kicks in. Fails again. Service F starts while E is still flailing. F depends on E. F fails. Services G, H, and I start simultaneously. They all depend on F. They all fail. My phone starts buzzing with alerts. The private monitoring dashboard is lighting up red. Cascade forming. Exactly as I predicted. I check the time. 10:07. The failure has been obvious for 7 minutes. Someone should have noticed by now. I pull up the company's incident response Slack channel. It's quiet. Nobody's said anything yet. 10:10. Still quiet. The cascade is spreading. Service J just failed. K is unstable. My hands are completely steady as I open my laptop. Pull up the emergency rollback script. I'm not running it yet. I'm waiting. I need to see if anyone else responds first. 10:15. A message finally appears in the incident channel. From one of the platform engineers. Anyone else seeing errors in production? Then another. API gateway is returning 500 threes. Then another. Customer support is getting calls. Services are down. Bryce hasn't said anything. I check his Slack status. Active. He's online. He's seeing these messages. He's just not responding. The VP posts, "What's happening? Bryce, status update?" 10:20. Still no response from Bryce. The alerts are escalating. Major customer impact now. Revenue generating services offline. My finger hovers over the enter key. One command. One keystroke. I can stop this. But I wait. Because this needs to be completely, undeniably clear. 10:25. The CTO joins the Slack channel. Bryce, initiate rollback immediately. 10:27. Bryce finally responds, "I'm trying. The automated rollback isn't working." Someone else, "What do you mean it's not working?" Bryce, "The scripts aren't executing." I don't understand. Delilah, are you seeing this? He tagged me. In the public channel. In front of the CTO. The VP. Everyone. I type, "The automated rollback protocols were disabled Tuesday per VP directive to accelerate deployment velocity." I flagged this in the transition documentation sent Wednesday. Manual rollback procedure is documented in Section 7 of the Architecture Guide. The CTO, VP, is this accurate? There's a pause. A long one. The VP, we made some process adjustments. We didn't anticipate. The CTO, Bryce, execute the manual rollback. Now. Bryce, I'm looking for the documentation. There's a lot of files. Which one specifically? I could tell him. Could walk him through it step by step. But I'm not principal DevOps architect anymore. I'm junior implementation coordinator. I transferred all responsibilities. I'm not on call. I'm not in the escalation chain. I'm not obligated to fix this. 10:30. 30 minutes of cascading failures. Customer impact spreading. I watch the metrics. Calculate the cost. Every minute of downtime is approximately $4,000 in lost transactions plus reputational damage. I open a direct message to Malcolm Fisk. He's been quiet in the main channel. Watching. Malcolm, I have a manual rollback ready. On my personal system. I can execute in under 2 minutes. Do you want me to? His response is immediate, yes. Do it. I'll handle the politics. I run the script. Watch it execute. Service by service, the failed deployments reverse. Configurations roll back to the last known good state. Within 90 seconds, services start recovering. Green spreading across my dashboard where there was red. In the public channel, someone notices. Services are coming back up. What happened? I don't say anything. Let Malcolm handle it. Malcolm posts, Delilah executed an emergency rollback procedure. Production is stabilizing. The CTO, Delilah, I thought you were transitioned off this project. Malcolm, she was. But she apparently maintained a backup recovery system. Good thing she did. The VP hasn't posted anything in 6 minutes. My desk phone rings. Internal extension. The VP's office. I let it ring 4 times. Then I pick up. Delilah Malcolm. Delilah. The VP's voice is different now. Tight. Controlled. Can you come to conference room 3B? Same conference room where this started. Full circle. I'm currently assigned to the implementation team, I say. I'd need to clear it with my new manager first. Silence. Then, your new manager reports to me. I'm clearing it. Conference room 3B. Now. I hang up. Close my laptop. Stand. Kwame catches my eye from across the floor. He gives me the smallest nod. I take the stairs instead of the elevator. Gives me time to think. When I reach the 3rd floor, I can see through the glass walls. Conference room 3B is full. The CTO is there. Malcolm. The VP. Bryce, looking pale. 2 other executives I don't immediately recognize. I open the door. Step inside. The VP is standing. Everyone else is seated. Delilah, the CTO says before the VP can speak. Walk us through what just happened. I remain standing. The deployment initiated at 10 a.m. using a modified orchestration sequence that removed dependency validation and automated rollback protocols. Services failed in cascade beginning at 10:04. Manual intervention was required at 10:30 to prevent extended outage. And you had a manual rollback prepared? Yes. Why? Because the safety systems were disabled Tuesday, and the Friday deployment was high risk. I documented the risk in my transition materials. When those risks weren't adequately addressed in the deployment plan, I prepared a contingency. The VP finds his voice. You knew this would fail? I turned to look at him directly. I knew it could fail without proper safeguards. I warned about it in writing. Wednesday, 9 a.m. Subject line, DevOps Architecture Transition, Critical Information. I can forward you the email again if you've deleted it. One of the executives I don't recognize speaks. Why didn't you stop it before it started? I'm no longer Principal DevOps Architect. I was reassigned Tuesday to Junior Implementation Coordinator. The deployment was not within my area of responsibility as of Wednesday afternoon. But you could have prevented this. Yes. By remaining in my previous role. By maintaining the process-heavy oversight that was deemed unnecessary. I keep my voice level. Factual. You asked for agility. Speed. Reduced overhead. This is what that looks like without the structural safeguards. The room is silent except for the HVAC system humming. The CTO leans forward. How much did this cost us? Preliminary estimate based on transaction volume, approximately $120,000 in direct lost revenue. Customer trust impact is harder to quantify but likely significant given the affected clients included 3 enterprise accounts in active renewal negotiations. And it could have been prevented? Yes. Either by maintaining the automated safety systems, or by allocating sufficient time for proper knowledge transfer, or by scheduling the high-risk deployment for a date when the new architect had more than 48 hours of system familiarity. The CTO looks at the VP. Then at Malcolm. Then back to me. Delilah, I'm going to ask you a direct question. Can Bryce run this infrastructure? I glance at Bryce. He's staring at the table. Not yet, I say. He could, with proper training and mentorship. The systems are documented. But documentation requires time to absorb. Architecture this complex takes months to fully understand. How long did it take you? To build it? 3 years. To understand someone else's equivalent system? I'd estimate 6 months of full-time focus. The CTO nods slowly. Stands. Everyone except Malcolm and Delilah, please step outside. The VP's expression hardens. This concerns my division. Outside, the CTO repeats. Not loud. But final. They file out. Bryce practically runs. The VP moves slowly, deliberately. When the door closes, it's just the three of us. The CTO sits on the edge of the conference table. Delilah, I'm going to be direct. That was a political play. You let it fail. I executed my reassignment exactly as directed. You let it fail, he repeats. You knew it would. You prepared for it. You waited 30 minutes while we burned money and customer trust. That was calculated. I don't deny it. Yes. Why? Because being told you're wrong is theoretical. Experiencing the consequences is educational. I meet his eyes. The VP needed to understand that process isn't overhead. It's infrastructure. You can't see it when it's working. But you feel it immediately when it's gone. Malcolm speaks for the first time. She tried to explain it. I was in the original meeting. She showed the data. The VP dismissed it as resistance to change. The CTO nods. So you engineered a demonstration. I engineered nothing. I simply didn't prevent natural consequences. He almost smiles. That's semantics. That's accuracy. We sit in silence for a moment. I can hear voices outside. The VP arguing with someone. The CTO stands. I'm reinstating you as principal DevOps architect effective immediately. With a revised reporting structure. You'll report directly to Malcolm, not to the VP. You'll have full authority over deployment protocols, and any changes to safety systems require your explicit written approval. And Bryce? Remains on the team. Under your mentorship. If you're willing. I consider this. I'm willing. On the condition that mentorship timelines are realistic. Months, not days. Agreed. And the VP? The CTO's expression hardened slightly. Is learning the same lesson you taught Bryce. Consequences. He'll be having a very different conversation shortly about strategic judgment and risk assessment. Malcolm stands as well. The documentation you created. The backup systems. That was good leadership, Delilah. I protected the engineers who would have spent their weekend fixing this. And the customers who depend on us. I pause. The company is just the context where that happens. The CTO extends his hand. Welcome back, Principal Architect. I shake it. Firm grip. Professional. As I leave the conference room, I pass the VP in the hallway. He's on his phone. Sees me. Ends the call. You made your point, he says quietly. I executed my reassignment. You embarrassed me in front of the executive team. I stop. Turn to face him fully. No. You embarrassed yourself by removing safety systems you didn't understand to hit arbitrary speed metrics. I just declined to prevent the natural outcome. His jaw tightens. This isn't over. Actually, it is. My reporting structure changed. You're no longer in my chain of command. I keep my voice level. I don't wait for a response. Just walk back toward my old desk. The monitoring station. Someone's already moved my personal items back. My phone buzzes. Text from Malcolm, debrief Monday. Bring coffee. The expensive kind. I smile. First genuine smile in 3 days. The monitors come to life as I log back in. All green. All stable. Services humming along exactly as designed.